To Egypt now, where officials have revealed the discovery of a long corridor inside the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing.
While Egypt may not be a world superpower like the United States or China, Egypt is a country to be reckoned with due to its historical value and vast culture. However, recent reports suggest that Egypt isn't done when it comes to changing our perspective about our history as a human race, thanks to shocking discoveries that we didn't even think were possible. Here are 15 terrifying new discoveries in Egypt that changes everything. Number 1. Whales once lived on land. What if we told you that whales once lived on land? That may be hard to believe, but recent discoveries by geologists show that whales once lived in the sands of Egypt and made it their habitat. In the shifting sands of Egypt, bones of ancient whales were discovered. The bones, when dated, gave us a timeline of almost 37 million years, and one of them was about 50 feet long. So how were the whales able to live on land? You see, the whales gave up their legs over millions of years to adapt to life on water. This is substantiated by the fact that sea-dwelling whales have vestigial legs, proving that these gentle giants once walked on legs. As the land-dwelling whales ventured into the sea 50 million years ago, their body adapted to life on the water. Their backbones stretched out and their rib cages expanded so they could swim effectively. Their hunting capabilities also changed because they didn't have to chase down animals on land, but suction in through lunging or skimming. Today, the area where the land-dwelling whale discovery was made is now an UNESCO heritage site. The site has become a gathering spot for people who study evolution because of the large number of fossils it boasts. Number 2. Labyrinth of Hawara. Let's talk about another discovery that is mysterious because to this day, no one can say that it is a concrete find yet because of how it is shrouded in mystery. We are talking about the 3,000 rooms, 75 meters tall, limestone exterior labyrinth of Hawara. Buried in the sands of time, the Labyrinth of Hawara holds the potential to reveal important secrets about Egypt and our world at large. It was and is regarded as one of the world's ancient wonders. This labyrinth inspired so much awe that Herodotus, a Greek historian, described it as exceeding in wonder and splendor than the pyramids. The pyramids were glorious, but if a Greek historian such as Herodotus thought that the Labyrinth of Hawara surpassed the pyramids in sheer wonder, then the labyrinth must have been a sight to behold. The Labyrinth of Hawara was built by Amenemhat for him and his wives. He had 2 sections, one for the king and the other for his wives. The walls are covered entirely by ancient carvings, and the roof is made of only stones. According to Herodotus, the underground part of the labyrinth is the tomb of the 12 builder kings and where the remains of sacred crocodiles lay. Because of the sanctity of the underground part of the labyrinth to the Egyptians, Herodotus wasn't allowed to explore it. The underground remains unexplored till now. There is no gainsaying that adventurers throng daily to the labyrinth, seeking adventure and a thrill. Most adventurers who have visited the labyrinth talk about the underground structure as being very extensive. Ruins of the labyrinth were first discovered by Egyptologist Flanders Petrie in 1888 when he was digging around the area the structure was suspected to have been and found some blocks buried in the Egyptian sand. Flanders Petrie assumed that he had found the foundation of the labyrinth. Contrary to what he thought, Petrie was standing on the roof of this ancient structure. Unfortunately, no one was convinced of his findings because there wasn't evidence to back them up. So the discovery wasn't looked at for a while. In 2008, another expedition was made by the Mataha expedition researchers, thanks to the Egyptian Department of Antiquities, which permitted the researchers. The researchers fired off several acoustics underground using sonar, and there it was, the Labyrinth of Hawara, buried beneath the desert sands. Through sonar imagery, the expedition team could see that the labyrinth was the size of several stadiums, made of granite and had underground grid structures. The grid structures were found in the same spot where Petrie explored. However, what Petrie mistook for the foundation of the labyrinth was the roof. This marvelous discovery soon took a sad turn when the Secretary of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities Zahi Hawass, stopped the findings made by the Mataha expedition team from being made public knowledge. He suspended further disclosure and prevented any other expeditions on the site. Thus, the Labyrinth of Hawara remains not only buried in the sand, but also in human history. Number 3. Mummies with gold tongues. The subsequent discovery in this video is relatively recent. As recent as November 2022, a group of archaeologists discovered an ancient cemetery in Quanasia, Egypt. They found 3 tombs that contained dead people with golden tongues, or at least pieces of gold foil shaped to resemble a human tongue. If you are going to stand out before Arius, the god of the underworld, and plead for passage, you better be eloquent. What better way to speak eloquently than with a golden tongue? The ancient Egyptians believed that dead people stood a better chance of convincing Osiris to allow them passage into the underworld if they had a golden tongue. So when they buried their dead, they will cut off their actual tongue and replace it with a gold foil. The mummies in the Quanasia tomb were supposedly buried in 30 BCE and 640 CE. According to experts, they were in bad shape when they were found last year. 2 of the sarcophagi had been vandalized by grave robbers, but luckily, one was still left untouched, allowing the research team to discover the mummies. While removing the tongue of a dead person and replacing it with a gold foil shaped like a tongue may seem bizarre in our time, it looks like it was common practice in those times. This was proven by the discoveries of other mummies buried with golden tongues at the Papyrus Magna in Western Alexandria in February 2021 and at the burial site in Oxyrhynchus Elbanasa. Number 4. Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. The next on our list is a real sea monster. Most of us have seen movies depicting giant sea monsters that rule the ocean, terrorizing other dwelling animals and sailors. What if we told you that the sea monsters were real? The discovery of the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus changed how we saw life on the sea and on land. The Spinosaurus aegyptiacus is a living proof that dinosaurs once lived in the ocean, and they weren't just waders who waited on the bank of the sea to snag up fish. They were swimmers that traversed the length and breadth of the waters with their powerful swimming abilities. The skeleton of the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus was discovered in the Moroccan Sahara first by an amateur fossil hunter in 2008. In 2014, an experienced team went to the location, and what they found changed how we once saw dinosaurs thanks to the discovery of the fossilized fin-like tails and long spines. The fin-like tail that was found gave researchers an idea of how the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus managed to swim, hunt, and navigate the waters. To understand how the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus swam, Harvard scientists recreated a tail using flexible material and attached it to a machine. The machine imitated the swimming motion of a Spinosaurus, and it was discovered that they were perfectly adapted for sea life. The tail of the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus generated 8 times more thrust than land-dwelling dinosaurs. Other water inhabitants, such as crocs, were the perfect example of how the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus moved when they swam. With the discovery of the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, we can now begin to see dinosaurs in a different light. These once thought strict land dwellers may have also been the king of the seas. Number 5. Khafre diorite statue. The Khafre diorite statue depicts the skill ancient Egyptians had when it came to craftsmanship. Made out of anorthosite gneiss, a very dark and hard stone, the Khafre diorite was discovered by Auguste Mariette. Auguste Mariette was also the first director of Egyptian antiquity studies. When Auguste Mariette found the Khafre diorite, it was buried in a pit under the Khafre's temple. The throne-like sculpture is home in the Cairo Museum and draws visitors worldwide. Khafre diorite is also known as Khafre enthroned. Depicts Pharaoh Khafre from the 4th dynasty, seated on a lion-pawed throne. One of his hands is clenched and the other is opened. His posture on the throne symbolizes political power and dominance. Behind his head, a bird symbol hugs the back of his head, which represents the guidance of the falcon god, Horus. Pharaoh Khafre had this statue built to show the people that he, as the pharaoh, was a perfect symbiosis between God and man. Number 6. The Screaming Mummy. Most mummies discovered by researchers usually showed signs of noble and peaceful death. Most of them are embalmed and buried in a sarcophagus, which shows that they were highly esteemed members of ancient Egypt. However, that isn't the case with the Screaming Mummy, discovered in Deir el-Bahri near the Village of the Kings. Scientists tried to unravel who the Screaming Mummy was for years, but for years they could not. However, after thorough research, it was discovered to be the mummy of Prince Pentuer. As later studies showed, Prince Pentuer tried to kill his father, Ramses III, and was probably successful. A group of butlers oversaw the trial of people who aided the rogue prince in assassinating his father. Many of those involved in the plot were mutilated and killed. Due to the severe nature of his crime, Prince Pentuer wasn't embalmed like the royalty of his time. The lack of embalming fluids probably caused his muscles to mummify naturally and stretch, which led to his mouth being agape. His body was also wrapped in a pigskin, which was a way to further dehumanize him after his death. A team of scientists studying the mummy of Ramses III found that Ramses III died after his throat was slashed, likely in the assassination attempt that Pentuer headed. The same researchers also discovered that the prince took poison and died due to the guilt of killing his father. Whether he died screaming or not remains unfounded. Number 7. Pit of Giant Hands. The next discovery made in Egypt on our list is the Pit of Giant Hands. This thought-provoking discovery was made by a team of archaeologists in 2011 during an excavation of the Papyrus. 16 severed human hands were found in 4 pits. 2 of the pits were positioned in front of a throne room, while the remaining 2 were at the outer parts of the palace. The palace discussed here, King Khan of the Hyksos, king of the 15th dynasty in Egypt. While this discovery seems gruesome and bizarre, it does hold clues to ancient wartime practices in Egypt. In times of battle, when a soldier conquers and kills an enemy, they will cut off the hands of their severed foe as trophies. The hands are then exchanged for gold and discarded in the pits. Cutting off the right hand symbolized that the enemy's strength was wholly taken from them, which was a sign of total victory. This practice was adopted by both the Hyksos and the Egyptians. Number 8. Papyrus Scroll. Buried for over 2,500 years, the Papyrus Scroll was discovered near the Saqqara necropolis site, Cairo. The scroll was found amongst other ancient relics, such as bones of sacrificed animals, painted wooden coffins, and statues. This ancient scroll isn't some fun storybook, as it contains spells, hymns, and chants that guide the souls of the dead through the underworld. The Papyrus Scroll was initially thought to be only 30 feet long. However, upon further investigation, it was discovered that this hieroglyphs-filled Book of the Dead was 52 feet long. The discovery of the Papyrus Scroll illuminates the ancient practices of the Egyptians as it concerns the afterlife. Number 9. The Headless Pyramid. Built by the 5th dynasty pharaoh, Pharaoh Khafre, the Headless Pyramid is still a mystery today. A German archaeologist discovered Carl Richard Lepsius in a Saqqara complex of the Giza Plateau. This pyramid gets its name from the fact that only its base remains. However, its base got lost no thanks to the shifting sand of the Egyptian desert for 160 years. This has caused preservation efforts to be doubled, and the area where the pyramid stands is now designated as off-limits. Also discovered in the pyramid was the tomb of the 10th dynasty pharaoh, Merekher. The strange-looking dark-stoned box is partially buried in the sand. However, it still has a lid covering that slides right on top. It also has a drill hole that no one knows why it's there. Despite being explored for over 200 years, the Headless Pyramid remains one of the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Number 10. The Lost Golden City. Buried in the sands of Egypt for 3,000 years, a city lay undiscovered. This marvel dates back to the 4th dynasty age in Egypt. Unearthed by archaeologists, experts such as Zahi Hawass think that the discovery of the Golden City is as significant as when Tutankhamun's tomb was found. Painstaking efforts were put into unearthing the Golden City, and artifacts such as figurines and trinkets belonging to Queen T, Queen of Egypt of the 18th dynasty, wife of the pharaoh Amenhotep III, were found. For thousands of years, the Golden City was hidden from the eyes of the world, but its discovery pushes us to gain more understanding of how ancient Egyptians conducted their lives. 7 months after it was founded, bakeries, residential areas, and even an administrative district were discovered in the city. Thanks to this monumental find, the daily lives of ancient Egyptians may no longer be a mystery to us. Number 11. The Golden Man. The next discovery in this video gives an invaluable insight into how men of influence and great wealth were buried in Egypt. Buried in the ever-shifting sands of Egypt for more than 4,300 years, the discovery of a man buried and covered with jewelry and gold leaf was made in the tombs of Saqqara. This strange find was locked in a sealed stone sarcophagus, showing that the mummy was a man of means and high standing. According to experts, the man was not royalty. He lived in the Old Kingdom era and possessed a lot of wealth for his time. The headband and chest bracelets found on him proves his standing and stature in the time he existed. Ancient artifacts such as pots and wall paintings were also found by the archaeologists who unearthed the Golden Man. Through this discovery, we know that people of great wealth in the Old Kingdom era were buried in a way that showcased how they lived. Number 12. Secret chambers in Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the most famous pyramids in Egypt. This magnificent yet mysterious pyramid has continued to reveal secrets of the ages past, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. In March of this year, Egyptian officials announced that a hidden corridor had been discovered just above the entrance of the pyramid. Using non-invasive scanning techniques, researchers have spotted voids that include the secret chambers and passageways, which lie just at the entrance of the pyramid. Could this corridor be the original entrance to the Great Pyramid? This thought of the answer to this question has sent the archaeologist community reeling with excitement. Thanks to the use of cosmic ray imaging and infrared thermology, we may yet know what is inside these secret chambers, because we believe that it may be the key to unraveling the mystery that is the ancient civilization of Egypt. Number 13. The Tomb of the Unknown Queen. Once again, Saqqara spits up another wondrous mystery that stunned the scientists that discovered it. As they rummaged through their discoveries, they found the tomb of a queen whose identity remained a mystery for a long time. Her tomb was found in the funeral complex, which was made for the pharaohs of the 5th dynasty. Where the queen's tomb was found, 300 coffins were also discovered. The coffins house Pharaoh Tutankhamun's generals and advisors. Their names were inscribed on the coffins, which heralded them as significant men. However, the tomb of the unknown queen was the crowning of all the discoveries made that day at Saqqara, as Egyptologist Zahi Hawass proclaimed that her discovery was an addition to their queen's records. The same Zahi Hawass also revealed the unknown queen's name as Neith. Some say that Queen Neith may have been the divine mother of creation. Whether she was just a queen or something more is still debated. Number 14. The Rosetta Stone. Now resting in the British Museum is the beautiful Rosetta Stone. Discovered by Napoleon Bonaparte's soldiers during his campaign in Egypt, the Rosetta Stone has intrigued everyone who comes across it. The Rosetta Stone was found 3.5 miles east of Alexandria, in a region named after it. The stone was built into an ancient wall when it was found and removed by Pierre Francais and his men, Napoleon's soldiers. After Napoleon's defeat, under the term of the Treaty of Alexandria, the stone became the property of the British. One of the Rosetta Stone's most fascinating features is the inscribed words on its surface. Upon closer look by researchers, the ancient terms were found to be 3 different languages: Greek, Egyptian hieroglyphics, and Egyptian Demotic. When the stone was discovered, only the Greek language could be deciphered. Thanks to the sheer doggedness of scholars such as Thomas Young and Jean Francais, the Egyptian hieroglyphics and Demotic were found to pass the same message as the Greek counterparts. While the Rosetta Stone is still being kept in the British Museum, calls are being made by the Egyptian authorities to have the rocks returned to their home, Egypt. Number 15. Pyramid of Giza. Since the turn of the 19th century, discoveries have been made in Egypt which has caused us to begin to take a deeper look at our origins as humans. One such discovery is the discovery of the pyramids. The pyramids, for years, have inspired tourist visits, mathematicians, and filmmakers from all over the world. One of the most magnificent pyramids discovered is the Pyramid of Giza. There are 3 pyramids of Giza, but the Great Pyramid is the only one still standing today. It is one of the world's 7 wonders, and if you ever get to see it, you will understand why. As for the location, the Pyramid of Giza is on a plateau of the west bank of the River Nile, the outskirts of the modern-day Cairo. In those days, pyramids were built for Egyptian pharaohs who were seen as part god and part man. The Pyramid of Giza was built for Khufu, the successor of Snefru. Even though Khufu had such a magnificent pyramid to his name, nothing much is known about him besides that he had a pretty cool pyramid. Let's look at the dimensions of the Giza Pyramid. The original height of the Giza Pyramid is 481.4 feet, and the sides of its base are 755.75 feet. Boasting these dimensions, the Giza Pyramid is the largest in the world. So who discovered the Giza Pyramid? We don't know because it wasn't hidden. The Giza Pyramid seems to have existed for a long time and has been the center of attraction for people from all walks of life. Even though we don't know who discovered the Giza Pyramid, we have information about who built it. While some claim that enslaved people built it, evidence suggests that Egyptian agricultural laborers built the Giza Pyramid. These laborers had to cut about 2.3 million blocks of stones, transport them, and assemble them to create the Giza Pyramid. Thanks to technology and advancement in building techniques, we can create more complex structures than the Giza Pyramid with few workers. However, in the days when the Giza Pyramid was built, it took 100,000 men and about 20 years to get the job done. Undoubtedly, pyramids are a marvel to behold. But that isn't all when it comes to discoveries made in Egypt.